you get your degree was in nursing, but when you go to New York and you graduate from Baruch College, what was your master's degree in?
Master's in Public Administration.
Master's in Public Administration. So, did you go back to nursing?
No.
But he's helping.
See?
Our community.
We gotta connect the dots. We don't want to skip that part.
Yeah, no.
Where communication truly matters.
That's right.
Okay, so you don't go back to nursing.
No, I truly love the aspect of nurse. And nurses, let me tell you, are one of the most amazing professions to be able to help in the healing of a person who's in their most vulnerable moment. And it's a beautiful thing to see that. And so I admire nurses and everybody in the healthcare field, especially with the pandemic. They've been so crucial and truly heroes and sheroes this past year. But for me, it was a higher. While I love that bedside care, I was truly intrigued and curious about what could we do differently to improve the health of our community so that they don't end up in the hospital all the time. You see that patient that comes back every month or whatnot. And so for me, it was that curiosity of what else could we be doing as a community, whether it's through our policies, whether it's through law, whether it's through community programs that would help improve the health of our community. So that's the angle I really took. And I learned a lot when I was at Robert Wood Johnson Foundation about how philanthropy and investing in communities with both financial investment, but also just people investment, how that can make a difference.
Well, it's amazing. You just mentioned something, investing in people, investing into humans. That if we truly want to have a better world, we should be investing in humanity.
Yes, yes, sir.
Instead of saying, I gotta invest in something else for my own personal benefit. Hey, listen, there's nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, it is a goal to invest. Because if we have spoken about this, that if we truly believe in the sanctity of life begins in the womb. And it shouldn't be once you come out of your mother's womb.
You're on your own.
You're on your own, buddy. Sayonara. No, o adios, or ci vediamo, arrivederci. No. No, it's complex. But, okay, so what do you do now? I know you're involved in this plethora of providing your time for free through all these different organizations in town. So what do you do now? How do you earn your American dollar?
Currently I serve as the Vice President of Community Programs for the Wyandotte Health Foundation. We're located right off of 8th in Minnesota. Just really briefly, and you both are probably familiar with them, but we invest in the community through grant making. We try to improve the health of Wyandotte County residents through our grant making, collaborative efforts, and leadership, and bringing people together around health issues.
So you are educating our people about health, eating healthy, exercising, seeing the doctor.
Yeah, it's in many different ways, right? And the foundation's been around. We're coming up on 25 years next year. It started from the old Bethany Hospital. It was right there on Central Avenue. So that's where the foundation got its start. But right now our focus areas are on supporting the safety net system, the safety net clinic system in Wyandotte County. And then we focus on behavioral and mental health with a focus on early childhood and adverse childhood experiences and trauma, and making sure if we can get to those root issues of addressing, preventing, and mitigating that trauma, then long term we can make a generational impact on improving the health of our community.
How are we doing in Wyandotte County health-wise, especially now that we're going through the pandemic?
Yeah, that's a loaded question, right? That's a very real question. The Robert Wood Johnson Foundation puts out its county health rankings every year. They've been doing it, I think, for the last 10 years at least. And in those years, every year we look at the state of Kansas. Wyandotte County is always at the bottom or in the bottom 5 or 10 counties in the state. And what they look into, if you haven't had a chance, look them up online. And it shows you what they take into consideration when they look at the county health rankings. But I'll tell you what, it's not all just, direct, health, health provision. There's so much that they take into the county health rankings in terms of, so they look at the social determinants of health, right? They look at employment, they look at housing, they look at education, and health services. I mean, they take all of that into consideration when they're looking at the health of a community. So to answer your question, according to the rankings, we're not doing well. We're not doing great. And then you break it down into different segments, right? From the county, you look at, Wyandotte County is one of the most diverse counties in the state or in the country. Our Black and brown community is even hurting even more when we break down into race and ethnic demographics.
Do you think is because we are not well informed, or we don't care? And I know a lot of times, them tacos sound good, tortas, and yeah, I mean, honestly, things that are bad for ourselves, we enjoy it the most. Is it that we are not educating ourselves? We're not listening to what the health department or these organizations are trying to tell us?
It's complex, right? Absolutely. I love my gorditas and tacos just as much as anybody else. But I think absolutely it has to do with our own decisions and behaviors and what we do to keep ourselves healthy. But there's also systemic issues at play, when we think about our health. Like why do we sometimes go for the unhealthiest food? Well, it's the cheapest. Sometimes, right?
It is.
And if we're on a budget, that's probably, that might be all we can afford because we can't afford the healthier foods, right? So there's some systemic issues at play. There's, housing issues. There's food deserts in certain communities, or food mirages, right? Is kind of a different term when you've got your corner store, but all the food there is either unhealthy or super expensive for the healthy stuff. So there's all these different things. Education, I believe, is one of them. Like how we educate ourselves to make healthier decisions. But, are we going to the doctor to do preventative stuff? Are we, taking care of ourselves, taking care of our brothers and sisters to make sure that we're staying healthy and educating ourselves on what we can do? So it's a complex answer, but I think there are some concrete things that we can do to keep ourselves healthy.
And we know that you are the president of the Kansas City, Kansas Board of Education. And you mentioned education and the importance of education and how education plays not just the financial side, but also the education also can dictate where you are going to be in the social stratification many times. And where are we education-wise, Wyandotte County? Where are we in that scale? If we're here in the bottom when it comes to health, where are we with education?
And I'll just, to kind of finish up on the health side of things. While we are still at the bottom, there are some things that we've done better over the past 10 years where we're improving. We're getting grocery stores. We're doing things better. So we're moving the smaller needles in health that will ultimately impact the bigger needle. It's not an overnight thing. So I do just want to say, even though we're,
there's always a lot of work working on it.
There's a lot of great things happening in Wyandotte County to improve the health of our community.
And I was guilty of that because I didn't go to the doctors. For a long time, I felt I was okay, but I started going back, and I go every 6 months to make sure that I'm doing okay healthy wise. I don't want to have a scare later on when I'm on the floor laying down,
I mean, you might be too young, but there was a time, I mean, we have changed. There was a time when the population of Wyandotte County was decreasing. Now, when you look at the census, the population has increased. When you look at employment, it has gotten better in Wyandotte County. There was a time where the city was on the verge of bankruptcy, but we came out from it. You know, kind of like a phoenix, you know, like boom, we're back.
You know, you talk about employment, the district, so to get to your question a little bit, right, in terms of education, the district is one of the largest employers in the county. You know, we've got about 4,000 or maybe a little over 4,000 staff members. So we are one of the largest employers. And that's important for us to be able to support our community in that way. In terms of education, how are we doing? We continue to strive to be one of the top 10 districts in the country. Are we there yet? No, we're not. That's just the honest truth.
Yeah.
But we're trying to get there. We're doing things to try to get us there, to increase our graduation rate, to decrease the dropout rate, to make sure that students are persisting through high school, to make sure that our students are coming out not just with the high school degree, but college and career ready, whatever that might look like for them. So while we're not in where we want to be, we are definitely, in the short time that I've been on the board, I've learned a lot about the work that we're doing to try to make sure that we're building to that.
And I am one of those 4,000 plus employees that work for the school district. You know, I see and deal with a lot of students directly. You know, I think, and I'm a strong believer that it takes a village to raise a child. And what I found out here in Wyandotte County, that we are a village. You know, we just need to close the gap a little more, but we are a village. You know, my son growing up, there was a group of parents and friends that he grew up around. We knew everything about them. You know, it wasn't like he would go and spend the night at someone's house and not knowing what was going on. We were always informed to what was happening. And that's one thing that I love about Wyandotte County. You know, it's a big city, but still small enough to know what's going on next door. You know, so yeah, I mean, working for the school district when I only have a high school diploma, to me, this is a blessing. To be able to reach out to some of the students and parents and, you know, including staff.
So you get your master's degree and you learn about fellowship and the importance of mentorship. As president of the Board of Education, with that training, with that education that you received in mentorship and fellowship, because I'm sure you were mentored by some phenomenal people, are you attempting, you and your team attempting to develop some type of a mentorship, some type of a fellowship with the companies that we have in the metro area to hopefully provide to some of these, all that it takes sometimes? We have kids that have great minds. We have. Absolutely. But sometimes what you need is a little push. You know, for us, for anyone, for me, to elevate our level of consciousness. So, are you doing anything like that?
Yeah. So I'm gonna back up a little bit to tell this story, and then
Sure.
I'll tell you why it's important, right? So you all know, so I'm the first Latino to be elected onto the school board, right?
Nice.
We've had
Very
Latinos
nice.
who have served previously, but I was the first to be actually elected onto the school board. And that for me is an important piece that I continue to want to embrace and acknowledge, right? And the reason is because our district is over 50% Hispanic Latino students, but we don't have enough representation both in the classroom, at the administrative level, and at the board level. And that's a national problem, right? We have teacher shortages in terms of diversity. So it's not just here in KCK, it's a national shortage. But part of, and it wasn't the only reason, but part of the reason that I ran for the school board was I wanted to make sure our families, our students, could see themselves, right, in that position. I wanted to be able to talk to our community, talk to our students and say, and do some of that mentoring in a sense to say, hey, look, like, I'm here because of you, for you, and with you. And so part of my responsibility as a school board member is absolutely to make sure that we are supporting our students, our families in whatever way possible. And we're having those conversations about building internships mentoring programs, fellowship programs with Kansas City, Kansas, and Kansas City in general has a ton of corporations and businesses, both small and large, that we should be partnering with, and we should be mentoring our students, and we have to do it early, right? We shouldn't wait until the high school.
That's right.
We should start with our kids in elementary
school
to tell them about the importance and have people around them to show them that they care. They say, research says, all it takes is one person to show that they care about you, and that can change the trajectory of your entire life.
Absolutely.
And so we have to continue to build that. We've got some good programs in the district. We've got a program called Diploma Plus, which you may have heard of, which starts from the elementary schools and talking to our students and families about college and career and mentoring, and it goes through. They have some programs in elementary, middle, and then high school. And we're building more. We're trying to do more in terms of that mentoring, because you're absolutely right, man. You shouldn't have to do it alone. I know you can. I know there are people that have done it,
Yes.
but you shouldn't have to. And we as the school district, we want to make sure we're putting programs and people in place so that no one feels that they have to be alone, and that they're supported, that they have people like you all that they can turn to and talk to and get advice from and learn life lessons from, and for you to tell them, man, I love you, I care about you, I want to see you succeed. I mean, half the time, like, that's all our kids need, right? It's just someone to show and tell them they love them.
And one thing that I found out by speaking with students also, sometimes they are forced to believe that this is what you have to do, and I know college is not for everybody, but I always tell them, your high school diploma, it is for every single person here, because later on, 2-3 years down the road, you might want to do something, go back to school, learn a trade, something. If you don't have your high school diploma, the door is closed. So you have to go back, first of all, get your GED.
Right.
And that will take time, right?
Yeah.
So, it's just trying to listen to our students, which is the most important thing. Listen to their needs and what they want.
And and we're doing some really great things in this community. And I know Sumner often gets a lot of credit, but I'll just I'll point out, this past week Sumner was named the number 6 high school, top 6 high school in the country, the number 1 high school in the state. And that's impressive, and that is a story that we should be lifting up. But we should also be telling our other students in all of our high schools, you can do it too. All of our other high schools have the potential and the opportunity to do the same things, and we as a district need to make sure we're telling those stories as well. But it's an amazing thing for our community to have the top high school in the state of Kansas. That's an amazing thing.
But you know that in order to enter Sumner, you have to test to get in.
Yes, sir.
The competition is big. It's huge. And regardless of the race, cultural background, we know that white, black, Hispanics, the brightest of the brightest minds, want to go to Sumner. I don't want to mention the name, but I know some people that just now, or a couple of kids that I know, are now getting ready to test because they want to go to Sumner. If it's not Sumner, it's going to be a private institution.
Yeah.
And but I also know that more and more, because I was an SRO, I was a school resource officer. Best time I ever had as a police officer, by the way. I learned a lot about kids, a lot about being a better human being, by the way. That more and more education is so important, especially now among immigrants. I know that was my case. My mom, hey, don't be a brutal. She used to say it all the time. Don't be a brute. Stay in school. So, and more Latinos are graduating, attending Hayes University, for instance. A lot of Latinos are going through Hayes, Rutgers University is another one, UMKC. But my fear is this, that not everybody's going to be like you. I'm going to make that U-turn and go back to where I came from. My fear is always that once these kids get their college education, they want to get out of here.
Yeah. No, and I'm going to close one loop, and then I'll get to that point as well. You know, you mentioned, you know, everyone that's testing or wanting to go to Sumner, and Sumner is an absolutely great school. Yeah, I graduated from there, so I'm a proud graduate. But I also know how great our other high schools are,
Yes.
and how we've invested in the other high schools to make sure that all students there at the other high schools have the opportunity to be college and career ready. So they have those AP classes at the other, you know, they have the opportunity to take other college courses. So for anyone that doesn't go to Sumner, and a lot of people choose not to go to Sumner, which, you know, they'd rather go to Wyandotte or Washington or Schlegel because that's in their community, and that's amazing. So I don't want folks to take away I want folks to know that all of our high schools, and our goal as a board, as a district, is to make sure that all of our students at any of our high schools have the opportunities to succeed and to do great and to do well. So I just want to make sure that's something that everyone knows, that, hey, we're investing in all of our high schools to make sure that their opportunities are there as well. But to your point about, you know, coming back, like, I think everyone's life journey is going to be a little different, and my journey brought me back to Kansas City. But I think regardless of, you know, if you decide to stay out in New York or LA or, you know, in Hayes, Kansas, or wherever your journey takes you, there's a lot of valuable experiences and knowledge that you can take that you can still give back to your community within Kansas City. And I see that through a lot of our graduates who are doing some work outside of here, but they give back. They either you know, financially, or they'll come back and volunteer and do something, you know. So I think there are a lot of ways for people to give back to their community without having to physically be here. Now, it'd be great to have them all come back and give back in certain ways, but I think there are a ton of different ways that can look, depending on, you know, what your journey takes, where your journey takes you.
Education first. I have a bachelor's degree in business administration. And I always wanted to be a teacher. And when I was a kid, my goal was to become an elementary school teacher and probably go into a rural elementary school and teach. And then I came to the U.S. And education is expensive, financially speaking. And I would like to get a master's degree.
I'm waiting for.
You mean a higher education? After high school.
After high school.
Yeah.
You know, like, I wanted to get. I borrow money.
I'm waiting for Biden to cancel my loans. President Biden, if you're listening,
Wait a second.
I need you to cancel all my student loans. All right, that's the last political thing I'll say. I'm sorry.
What if I don't have student loans? Why get a check?
I love you, but I need you to cancel that.
No, I had to pay my loan. I mean, I paid my student loan. You know, and it was so expensive. And the university from where I graduated, they're constantly sending me emails. I haven't spoken to them on the phone, and I said, "Look, I cannot afford at the present time. I can't afford, you know, to get a master's degree. I would love to, but it's so expensive because I know for a fact that if I get a master's degree, I'm gonna get paid. You know, I have family members in Venezuela, and friends, and I'll say this, you know, that I try to support financially a little bit of money here and there, because people are making $2 to $5 a month where I grew up, and it gets so expensive to get a master's degree, to get a bachelor's degree, and I'm like, man, I even got my. Right before the COVID hit, I said, you know what? I want to get my license to be a sub teacher, and I did. And then, boom, the COVID came along, and I was going to apply for District 500. So you know, if I'm going to go anywhere, I'm going to District 500. I'm going to go and apply for some other high school and some other place.
And we still need subs.
Yeah,
we need subs.
That's where I was going to go into right now. You know,
so,
working directly.
Yeah, but even today, I would like to get a master's degree, and I want to be a teacher. I would like to be a teacher.
We've got a fellows program at the district.
I'm going to talk to you after this.
We'll talk, because you'll get your master's and be able to be a teacher. So that's
awesome.
yeah.
I know we're losing a lot of teachers. they're moving on to different districts for whatever reason. It could be pay, it can be a better opportunity, or they're moving up. Are you, as the board president, are you guys planning or thinking about how can you bring more teachers to our district?
Yeah, that's always a topic of conversation at the board with our administration. Something that you said, college is expensive anyways, and I'll tell you what, when you look at the numbers and the data, there aren't as many folks going into education as there were previously, right? Or that they'll go into education, but then they'll further their degree and they'll move on to something else. So there's a shortage of educators all across the country, and when you start looking at diverse educators, bilingual, multilingual educators, that number gets even smaller. So we're all competing for a lot of the same folks, and it's a challenge. But yes, we're always having conversations, looking at different strategies to try to not only attract but keep them here long term, because there's nothing more impactful than to have a teacher in the classroom who looks like their students, or who can relate to that student. So we've got some different programs, that fellowship program I mentioned, to help people who want to become educators get their masters and get in the classroom, change careers, and become a teacher. We've got programs to help our para-educators who want to become teachers, to get them to that level as well. We're at all the recruiting fairs. We're partnering with agencies like different organizations that work to attract educators. So it's we're always looking at at the pay scale. That's something that's every year we're looking at. So we just have to continue to be creative to make sure that we're keeping, and part of it too is making sure that we're building a culture in the district that people want to be at. Like you said, if this is your community, this is where you want to be, so we want to create that culture within KCK and PS, so that teachers want to stay here, so that teachers want to come here and work with our students. We've got an amazing group of students, I'll tell you what. So so that's an asset that we can use.